Hey, welcome back to Her Shift, Surviving PMDD, Trauma Healing, and Women's Wellness Stories. I had to think about which one I was doing then, because I've just been doing my other podcast, which is my private members podcast, Battlefield Red. And I'm all in a tizzy. Anyway, how is September working for everyone? I think usually, and in the past, this has always been my favourite season. I don't know why. Something resonates with me. I don't know, maybe it's the air, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's you know what, I've just had a gorgeous pumpkin and sweet potato and chili soup at the local cafe, and I'm feeling suitably autumnal. And yes, I am that basic bitch who will have a pumpkin spice latte all year long. Absolutely love it. So I'm going to get in today. We're going more about the PMDD route and also the things that I have done, as in the medical route, the things that I have tried, if they work for me, if they haven't worked for me, my honest opinion on them. And the reason I bring this up is I went to the second PMDD support hub meet the other night in Gateshead, and it was a really healthy, safe space to chat, and lots of people gave their experiences and what talked about what they'd been through. And what struck me was it was so different for every single person, and everyone had a different experience. Also, there was information that other people didn't know about. And it just really feeded into the whole idea that actually we just don't know, and it could be so many different variables, and you've got to find what's right for you. However, before I talk about basically the chemical shit that I pumped into my body through the years to help combat my PMDD symptoms, and this comes from my other podcast, and it's a bit of a mindset shift hack and a big realization, a big shift that I've had this week, which I thought might help us. And it's the whole idea about everything being about us when actually other people's behaviour is nothing to do with us, and it never will be. And I realised how personally I've been taking the actions or inactions of others. Let me explain. I heard this a lot growing up, and I heard it at the school gates the other day. Not me saying this. Someone saying to their child, "Why do you always do this to me?" And by that they meant the kid had behaved not acceptably at school, and the mother was saying, "Why do you always do this to me?" i.e. she was taking it very, very personally. I completely understand why. She's been very reactive in that moment, absolutely. And it made me think about my relationship with my lobster, and how for a very long time there are certain things that either he does or he doesn't do which I take very, very personally. Now, and you can apply this to all relationships. It will be with your friends, your children, work colleagues. So, for example, if he doesn't do maybe a chore or a task or something he said he was going to do, and then I find that hasn't happened, for some reason, I feel it in my body that I'm like almost a direct attack on me. Because if it's something that impacts our world, my world, therefore, that's how I see it. So, for example, and I am just like, these are random things. If he didn't take the bins out, if he didn't sort the car out, if he didn't wash the cars, if he didn't do some paperwork, that affected the house after he said he was going to, and there could be a million reasons why he hasn't. Usually the fact he's just very busy, he's got a lot going on, nothing deeper than that. I would therefore go, you not doing that has impacted my life. Clearly, I'm not good enough for you. You don't love me enough, because if you did, you would want me to be happy all the time. And my happiness is based on your ability to do stuff for me, which when I put it like that sounds absolutely ridiculous, because it is. When he has a hard task to do, so if it would be to speak to a family member about, or have a difficult conversation with someone, or talk to the kids about something, and he vocalizes that to me and says, I'm struggling to do this, or I'm finding this really hard, or or maybe he might even say, outright, I don't think I can do this. Again, for some reason, I take that as such a personal attack. What do you mean you can't do? You can't do something hard for me. It's not doing it for me. But that's how I take it. If you loved me, you would do that. Does any of this sound familiar? Because I just know as obviously I'm less reactive at certain times, let's say in my cycle. But I've just caught myself doing that so much, thinking him finding certain things difficult to do, and we all find different things difficult to do. I take that so personally, and I take that as a sign of how he views me. Which is ridiculous, because if you imagine, there are times when I don't look at it like that at all. So for example, if he's struggling with a project at work, or dealing with a work colleague, or thinking about buying something for himself and he needs a second opinion, or if he forgets to perhaps he was going to go and make arrangements to see his friends, and he forgot to do it, or he was too busy, and he spoke to me about it. I wouldn't take that personally at all. Any of those things. Especially if it's like a problem at work, I'd want to listen, I'd want to hear what was going on with him, but I wouldn't think him having a problem or a difficult, tricky conversation at work has anything to do with me, or my value, or my worth, or how much he loves me. And I would want to help him and support him and just listen to him. So why do I take those other things so personally, things that impact me directly? And it just made me think that whatever a person's, behavior, attitude, actions are, whether they impact you or not, they're nothing to do with you. They never are. Even if, and I haven't got if someone does something to directly hurt you, like they've chosen to do something that they know will piss you off or hurt you, that has still got nothing to do with you, because it's about how they feel, not you. You haven't made them do that. I mean, how many times have we heard, you made me do it? I've done this because I hate you, and I hate you because it's your fault, because you did this and this and this and this. And again, when I put it like that, how silly does it sound? So anyone, yes, people do things that impact us, but it's nothing to do with us deep down. And that particular mindset shift has really, really helped me over the last week since I've had that realization. I'm catching myself doing it. I'm realizing that when my kids are playing up, again, they're not doing it to me. They're not doing it for that reason. When Mr. Lobster is too busy to get certain things done, it's not because of how much he loves me. And I just know that this sort of mindset really gets amped up at certain times of the month. And that's all I'm going to say on that. And if that is helpful, let me know. If you can resonate with that, let me know. Anyway, let's go back to... Let's more talk about being her, being this woman, being the goddesses that we are. And again, some of the things that I've done, I've tried, down the PMDD route, down the hormonal issue route. If I tell you about it, make your own mind up. So there's definitely been a time, I think, when my PMDD got ramped up, and that was probably about the age of 18. And that was when I first went on the contraceptive pill. I was definitely had PMDD before then. Obviously, we did not know back then that this was the 90s, that it was PMDD. But I did suffer with, all the PMDD symptoms around my periods. However, my periods were also so irregular until that time. Like, I was probably only getting them every 3 to 4 months, which was norm for me. I think, and that was probably due to probably a lot of stress in my life. I was technically underweight. So yeah, they were quite irregular. Anyway, I go on the pill at 18 because everybody does, it's just a rite of, it's like a passage, a rite of womanhood and all that. And I went on the original contraceptive pill, I guess, that was probably invented in the 60s. And it did have an instant effect on me. If you think about it, I am tricking my body into a cycle, a fake cycle. I know that taking the contraceptive pill makes your body think you're pregnant when it's not, so therefore it can't get pregnant because it thickens the, it's basically not ovulating, and yeah, it thickens the lining of the womb, And I know that, I don't know if this is the case now, but back then it was like you would take the pill for 21 days and then you would have a 7-day break. And during that 7 days, you would bleed, which then they used to say to us, that means that you're having your period. But you weren't having your period, because having your period means that you've ovulated and then you haven't got pregnant and then the womb is like shedding its lining. That's not what was happening. It's the side effect from not taking these hormones for 7 days that your body bleeds. It's like a fake period, it's a fake cycle. Anyway, the effects it had on me, yeah, it regulated my periods, absolutely. So much the fact I'd say that I was probably getting one every 40 to 45 days. So they still weren't normal cycle, but I was getting one. My boobs got bigger. I did put on about 8 pounds quite quickly. So yeah, I got a few curves, but I looked bloated with it as well. I remember it just carried a lot of water retention. I got very moody, and I would say my depression became prevalent at that time. It became obvious. I was only on the pill for about 6 months that particular time. Over the coming years, I was on and off it a few times to do with relationships, but that would have been my first introduction from that. And yeah, I think it messed with my body. I put some fake stuff into my body, it messed with it, and I definitely think it ramped up my PMDD symptoms after that. And yeah, can't go back on that. So there wasn't much else I did take after that in terms of hormonal things, but I was on lots of different antidepressants from the age of 21 to do with the depression. The depression obviously was linked with my PMDD, but I didn't know. And what used to happen as well, because I didn't know it was linked to my cycle, that I would often take some antidepressants and I would feel better, but it might not have been the antidepressants. I think it was just that I was getting my periods. So I was in follicular or ovulation, so I probably felt better anyway. But yeah, they used to dish them out like sweeties back then, and it was like, this will fix you. This will make you feel better. So I took lots of different antidepressants. And looking back, I don't think it was the right thing for me, but that was another type of medicine, another chemical that I was putting into my body. So I don't think I was ever on one for more than maybe 6 months. I certainly wasn't on one for up to a year, and then I would have a break for a few months, and my life would be up and down. Maybe something good would happen, maybe something bad would happen. I'd eventually have a breakdown and I would go back on some form of antidepressant. And again, I've got to remember, at this age, I didn't know it was PMDD. I don't think I realised it was PMDD actually until 2017. I think that's when I really started to research it. And I've got to remember, obviously, that PMDD hadn't been in the American medical journals until 2010. So, and it was still, we think that the knowledge on it is limited now. My God, in those early days, you would have to scroll on the second page of Google to find anything that matched. But I think I was probably just entering my symptoms one time, and it was my mother-in-law that many years before had attributed my depression to my period, but we just didn't know what that was. So yeah, so I'd taken a contraceptive pill. Antidepressants had been quite a big part of my life. I'd realised that alcohol wasn't helping me, so because there was definitely a time where I would look forward to a night out, that alcohol could be quite numbing, but I found for myself, particularly alcohol, if used as a crutch, if used to help my mood, it actually made me more depressed. So, and I would always have a massive come down the next day, always, to the point where I was blaming alcohol for my low mood and for my depression and for so many of my issues, that, and obviously the problems it was causing in my relationship, because of their relationship with alcohol, that I actually cut it out of my life for over 10 years. So yeah, now I'm thinking I don't mind the odd lager and the odd social drink, but I'm certainly not a big drinker, and I probably in my life intend to never get actually drunk again. So just not for me. I've talked about this on previous episodes. So in 2017, I had my first Marina coil fitted in late 2017, and that had an instant calming effect on me, because for me, and I know it's not the same for all women, I am estrogen dominant, really estrogen dominant, and I've always been severely lacking progesterone, to the point where I've struggled to ovulate and therefore conceive. So obviously the Marina coil has progesterone in it that is slowly released over time. And yeah, for me, it was a godsend. It really, I'd say I had 2 good years on that, where I just felt very in control, and it gave like a constant, like my moods weren't up and down. It's like I definitely had low points and this and that. And during that time, I separated, I got divorced, COVID hit. There was stuff obviously going on, but I probably will put that confidence in my life, to try new things, start new businesses, to get divorced. Probably came to having my mood quite stabilized, which I will put down to the Marina coil. Now, it's really interesting if you look online, if you go on the forums, you will see that it's been similar. My story's been similar for a lot of women. However, others have absolutely the opposite effect, as in like they absolutely hate progesterone. They are sensitive to it. And as I said, there was that TikTok that I talked about last week on the episode that actually said, progesterone and sensitivity to it is what's causing PMDD. And I thought, not in my case, pal. Now, you think, well, why did you have the Marina coil taken out? Well, it stabilised my mood, and I really thought for a long time this was what caused the PMDD. The problem was that once the husband was removed, stresses in my life, and once the world shut down with COVID, and things massively changed, like for my business and my home life, it then made me realise that actually with a stable mood, I still wasn't happy. There was still some other things going on. There'd obviously been trauma, past, triggers, things like that. There was depression creeping in, and it wasn't as obvious around my cycle with the Marina coil, but I just thought, and then obviously there was a few hairy moments during COVID where I panicked because I thought I can't get this taken out, I can't get it put back in, I can't see a GP when I need to. So maybe in a bit of a moment of panic, I had it taken out during 2020 because I was so concerned. So that completely then flatlined me, and realised that actually there was a lot more to PMDD than just having the Marina coil fitted. But I would say it did help. It did make a massive difference for me. And now, as I am getting into HRT, because I'm in perimenopause, I'm definitely looking at having the progesterone HRT side of things with the Marina coil. So I would definitely look at it again after the Marina coil, and keen to try anything because my PMDD again flared up so badly. My depression. But then, like a lot of the world, I hit rock bottom, because a lot of us did, because our world changed, and being stuck in the house and having the children homeschooled and worried about money, and and everything going on in the world, and the landscape was changing so quickly, and it felt so out of control. I'm sure that, well, as we know, women's mental health and everyone's mental health suffered during that time so badly. Anyway, I started to actually consider the H word, the hysterectomy. Many of us have, but I wanted to be cautious. It did seem a very drastic action, and obviously a permanent thing to do, and I found the idea quite upsetting. So I thought the first step would be to try chemical menopause, which again, I'm going to be quite honest, having spoken about this the other night, I didn't really research. I just thought it would be something to dabble with, maybe give me a taste of what was to come. I never actually considered what it was doing to my body. I went to I think it would be in the gynecology department, and I was offered it there and then. They said it would be a course of 2 injections, and it would be like an instant menopause. Now, because I am now going through menopause, well, perimenopause, it's realizing that you're not not in menopause and then you wake up one day and you have all the symptoms, so for me right now, it's like I'm always hot and I get hot flashes. I sweat profusely sometimes. Headaches, very itchy skin, very sensitive, bloating, weight gain on my tummy, fatigue, aches and pains, and just a general sense of loss of vitality. However, this has been gradual. This has been happening for a few years. I'm just very well into it now because I've been hit with all the symptoms. And I'll talk about it on another episode. Like, I'm managing them with like HRT. But yeah, you don't go from being being able to have a normal cycle and be in your baby making era to the next day waking up with all the menopausal symptoms. I don't think it happens like that. However, when you have a chemical menopause injection, so I think it's like Pro-Stop or something, it is pretty instant. So I just very naively went, yeah, I'll take it. And I pulled down the top of my knickers because they like to put it in a nice plump part of the body. So I had it put in my bum. Left a hell of a bruise and went on my merry way. I think within 2 days, I remember I was just in my bedroom and I started shaking and I felt like a flash of heat go right through my body and sweat started to pour profusely out of me. I felt like a radiator. It was really scary. Yeah. And it was like, shit, what have I done? I wasn't prepared for it. Because I hadn't, at that point in 2020, I wasn't, into perimenopause. Maybe I was on the brink of it. So it really scared me. Obviously, I lost weight instantly though, because I lost my appetite. I felt fatigue. I felt breathlessness come over me. My hair started to fall out. My skin felt itchy. I got a headache. But yeah, the hot flashes were really, really scary and they came out of nowhere. And it was in this moment. And what they do is when they give you the chemical menopause injection, they don't offer you HRT straight away because they need to see how your body copes with it. And in my case, not well. It's like, where have my hormones gone? And it was also in my head as well, like when I've seen other ladies, of a certain age, like at the gym. And when they've lost that natural plumptiousness, that fat, that they've lost the bums. And you start to get hair in places. Oh, as well, that's a thing as well. Random hairs growing out your chin and other parts of your body. Like, what? What is going on? I'm losing hair on my head and I'm getting hairs on my chin. It's like you losing your woman's vitality. It really freaked me out. And I just thought, I don't know if I can go through this without HRT. So I went straight back to the doctor, or the gyno, and saw the guy who was old school, coasting towards retirement, who just literally practically chucked a box of estrogen. There were pills like estrogen to take, not knowing that how sensitive and how dominant my estrogen had been in my body. No progesterone either, so just estrogen. It later transpired that what he gave me had been banned in some parts of America because of the side effects, i.e. mainly very dark suicidal thoughts in women, extreme depression, low mood, etc. I took them for a week and then thank God my lobster noticed what was going on because I was skittish, I was upset, I couldn't think straight, I crashed the car. And I remember him just chucking him in the bin and going, not taking these anymore. And obviously with that in mind, I'm thinking, right, so I'm having all these horrendous side effects from the chemical menopause, which I have not properly researched, and God knows what I've put in my body with that. I've then, dabbled with some HRT, which has nearly unlifed me. This is not good. And again, I just felt that needed me to completely reset, to give my body a break. And for the first time as well, to think about going down the natural route, homeopathic, supplements, diet, lifestyle, to think about many more variables, and to perhaps for the first time to stop fighting my body and to stop hate being a woman and to hate what my body was doing. And I also made that decision right there in that moment. And I know this is controversial, that I'd said I would not be getting a hysterectomy, that I didn't want my organs ripped out. But I also acknowledged in that moment how bad it is for a woman to get to that point where they think that's all they can do. I mean, how bad is it that the only way we can function and feel normal is to have such a big part of us removed that makes us who we are, that gives us that vitality, that creates life, that grows our babies. It's so upsetting. It's really, really sad. So don't get me wrong, there are days when I still think, God, I need a hysterectomy. Definitely. And I can totally understand why women do it. But for me, I'd made that decision in that moment. I was like, I want to just change direction with this. I can't do this to my body anymore. And that's where we get to with his. So from there, I changed paths. I looked at lots of different variables. I looked at my lifestyle. I looked at my stress. I looked at my exercise. I started to journal. I started to how did I want things to be? I felt like instead of fighting it, I wanted to embrace, who I was, do more in spirituality, look at what I was eating, what I was putting in my body, starting to honor who I was as a woman, respect the changes my body was going through. And yeah, I take a lot of supplements these days. I've tried lots of things over the years until I rattle. Bioidentical hormone cream. So that comes from yam. Again, I get that would be that's the HRT route that I am taking with that. And I suppose I probably should mention that. Yeah. So I'm on bioidentical hormonal creams now, and that can be really effective with PMDD, but obviously I'm now looking at it as I'm going through perimenopause. So yeah, that's how I've got to where I am, and those are the things that I tried, and those are the effects that it had on me at that time. I feel a little bit shook up after the chemical menopause incident. I know, and again, I will say for some women it works incredibly well. It is the lifesaver that they need. And instant menopause is not a problem for them. And I think it's just so important to remember we are all so different, and this approach has to be tailored. Everything about our health has to be tailored so uniquely and individually to us. And also know that evolves and that changes as we grow and as we get older. So I hope you find that interesting, if not helpful. And I would love to know about your own experiences, the things you've tried, the things you haven't, the things that you would like to try. What's the latest on women's hormonal health? What could make a difference? Whether it again, lifestyle, yoga, Pilates, acupuncture, what supplements you take, what things, if you've had a chemical menopause or if you've then gone on to have a full hysterectomy. I'd love to know about it. I really, really would. If there's one thing that I'm learning throughout this, is how varied and different every woman's experience and journey is. And I don't think labels exist here. They don't exist here in Her Shift. So as I mentioned, I did come off another podcast onto here, and that is my private members podcast, and that is Battlefield Red Radio, the Hormone Wars. That is my Patreon. That is just a very raw, very real member space. The idea is it's a community that we can grow. It comes along with a Facebook page, which is completely free. Please check it out. It's a very small group right now, but I would love to grow it. So yeah, that's Battlefield Red, the Hormone Wars. And again, from you guys and what you're putting out there and what we're talking about in the community, I can grow Her Shift. I can grow this space. I can learn more. I can share more. With that in mind, will you do me a favour? I would love it if you would like and love and subscribe and leave a review. It only takes seconds, but it really, really does help me to grow this space. So help the girl out. I will see you all next week. So it just leaves me to say, please keep going. You are doing amazing. You are stronger than you think. You are doing so well. Please do not stop. And as always, sending all my love.